Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the December meeting of the Community Forum. Once again, unfortunately, we're meeting here on Zoom and YouTube rather than as we would prefer to be doing face-to-face, which is a shame, but I hope that next year we will be meeting again face-to-face. So just to remind everybody this evening that it is your meeting, it's the residents' meeting, it's your opportunity to hear about local initiatives and initiatives of the Council. And your opportunity to ask questions and to contribute ideas and thoughts. I will just point out the councillors that I can see, and there may be some that I can't see, but I'll point out the ones I can see. And once again, we are here because we are responsible to you. And so please feel free to contact your councillors after this meeting and talk to them about anything you've heard this evening, or indeed put points to them as part of your contributions. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm James Holmes. I'm a councillor for Trinity Ward, and in no particular order, just in the order I'm seeing them, I can see Councillor Simpson of Hillside Ward, Councillor Williams of Hillside Ward, Councillor Benbow of Abbey Ward, Councillor Ormrod of Trinity Ward, Councillor Stringer of Abbey Ward, Councillor McGrath of Dundonald Ward, Councillor Holden of Hillside Ward, and Councillor Barlow of Village Ward. I'm glad I got all that right. As I started, I regretted it in case I forgot someone's ward. But thank you, everybody, for attending this evening. We have had some agenda changes, I'm afraid, so apologies for that. Leonie Cooper, who is our member of the London Assembly, will be joining us, but joining us a little bit later. Unfortunately, the Wimbledon Guild have had to drop out for unavoidable reasons, but hopefully they'll be able to join us at a future meeting. So I'm going to first ask Dagmar, who is the Director of Public Health at Merton, to give us an update on COVID and the fight against COVID here in Merton. Dagmar, it's not the first time you've briefed us on this subject, so you're very welcome, and thank you very much, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and good evening. And Chris, thank you for helping me. So what I'm trying to do this evening, give you a bit of an overview of where we are with our COVID infections and COVID impact on health in Merton. I want to share with you just a brief overview of 3 new developments in the fight against COVID. Then I will have a little bit of discussion around the Tier 2. We are expecting, I think the debate is happening when we come out of lockdown. And then finally, just want to share with you a few opportunities how you can help as well. What I suggest is there are rather a number of slides. We will go quite quickly and all of them, but hopefully they are a useful reference for you as well. And then we collect all the questions at the end, if that's okay. So if we move on to the first slide, Chris. Oh yeah, so next one, that's I've said that already. So just in terms of key messages, one of our most important markers is our infection rate, and we measure it over 1 week. And as you can see in green, we're measuring it for 100,000 people as a rate. And it has come down. It is still too high in a way, so we want it lower, but the most important message at the moment is that it is finally on the way down. The next really important rate is the ones in the over 60s. And on this slide, which again is important, it spans the 19th to the 25th of November, because you understand that we're always lagging behind a bit. That rate was still going in the wrong direction, but just hot off the press, I've checked today's and yesterday's data. That is also slowly coming down now. So 2 of the most important markers finally going in the right direction. If you move us on. On this graph, I think, again, we're comparing ourselves with the other boroughs in southwest London, and you see this sort of waving picture of our infection rates week by week. And as I indicated to you, luckily, in a way, that black line, which is Merton, is now over its hump and coming down. If you move us on. This is an important graph. We call it a heat map, and it tells us which are the age groups particularly affected by infections. And as you can see, we still have a bulge in the youngsters, 16 to 29. And those of you who have got school-aged kids or are teachers, or like Eleanor is linked to schools, know schools have taken quite a brunt of our outbreak control, and in fact have done a really good job. The group we're obviously most concerned about is the over 60s. And at the moment, as I showed you in the earlier graph, it was creeping up. Luckily, the next heat map that I will produce, it will fade out again in the over 60s. If you move us on. This is a very important graph, and we're monitoring very closely for Merton to look at any disproportionate fallout between east and west. And you can see we've been monitoring all along. And the two lines, to be honest, they follow each other. There was a real suggestion in September that the West was taking off. And it was interesting because we traced this down to a measurement anomaly that students from Wimbledon in particular, who actually were studying at the universities who had outbreaks in the north, so Newcastle, Manchester, Nottingham, were still registered in Merton, so we were counting their infections. Merton wasn't the only place where that was spotted, and ultimately, more recently, Public Health England has changed the recording, so you're now recorded where you take your swab. But that was probably the explanation for the diverging lines. And at the moment, the East was ahead a little bit, but both are coming down now. If you move us on. This is also an important measure that we follow. It's the ethnic proportion of our infection, so infection by ethnic group, and the graph right at the right-hand side is the ethnic distribution of our population. So what we are comparing is what is the ethnic proportion of our infections and whether that mirrors the proportion in the population. Now take the last column, the week November 20th, with a pinch of salt, because as you can see, the purple is very big. We had a lot of unknowns. This is an incomplete data set. But in the previous weeks, we are actually quite encouraged that it doesn't seem to mirror the first wave, where we had quite a disproportionate impact on ethnic minorities. This second wave looks more proportionate to our population. And we're obviously very much linking up with our NHS colleagues and checking out what happens to the more severe cases in hospital. And the same message comes from the NHS that at the moment there isn't a strong signal of the disproportionality, particularly in ethnic groups, that we've seen in the first wave. For the hospital impact, it's still early days. We're expecting still the more infections ending up in hospital, because as you're aware, there's always a bit of a lag. If you move on. So this is the curve for our deaths from COVID. You will recognize the first peak in the spring, and there is a little bit of a excess death in the second wave, but nothing compared to what we've seen in the spring. If you move us on. Can you move us on? This is an important slide, because obviously if a youngster gets COVID and has very mild symptoms, then we're not so worried about it. But if COVID is severe enough that you need to go to a hospital or even to ITU, or in the lowest corner, if you need mechanical ventilation, this is really a serious illness. And so we monitor the impact very closely. We haven't got it by borough, we've only got it by Southwest London, so sub-region. It's the turquoise line, and you see that initially Southwest London was actually lagging behind the other sub-regions in London, but has now crossed over in terms of hospital admissions. But the more severe ones, particularly ITU, is leveling off. And then the graph in the right bottom corner is also important, because obviously we are in winter and there has always been the anxiety that the NHS will be overrun. In the first wave, the NHS had to stop a lot of usual elective services. At the moment, you can see it's the capacity graph at the left bottom corner. It's busy, it's really busy in the NHS, but it is still within capacity. So an important message is the NHS is open. So if people have other things than COVID, please assure that they actually go. If you move us on. So that was a counter-potted version of our data. As I said before, I would like to share just this one slide with you to say what else are we doing about outbreak control. And there are three quite important developments. One is local contact tracing. Now that's actually, but everybody calls it like that. What we do is we complement NHS test and trace by helping them to find cases. So people who have a positive test, but NHS test and trace can't get hold of them, but we can. Local authorities are clearly better connected with their local communities. And so that's what we do. We case find and hand back to NHS TNT. And if those cases need support, we connect. Testing, you will have heard in the press, there has been a lot about testing. The new development is the asymptomatic fast test. You will have heard lateral flow test. So what is new and exciting is that you don't need a laboratory, and it is normally self-applied. You need a throat or a nose swab still, and then you have to pour a little bit of a reagent on the tip of the test. You wait, and it's like a pregnancy test. A line will pop up if you're positive. So that is quite a exciting new tool we have in our toolbox. What is important is that it is used with purpose. And in the mass testing that has made it into the headlines in Liverpool, for example, in my view, not the most purposeful of uses, but there are two particular reasons why you would want to use the fast test for asymptomatic people. One is, we call it test to find. So in settings where you think you have a high prevalence of COVID, for example, if there is an outbreak, and then it's likely that you have more asymptomatics. You can test loads of people quickly to find asymptomatic positives. And then there's the test to release or enable. So the classic example you will have heard is that people who would need to self-isolate because they have been in contact with a positive case. If they test regularly for 7 days, every time they have a negative test, they can slip out of self-isolation. So, for example, for critical key workers, that is an option. The other famous one, or has made it into the news a lot, is that we enable visitors to care homes to test actually before literally they enter their care home, and they're only allowed if the test is negative. So exciting opportunities. This is very new stuff. So there is a lot of piloting still going on and learning as we operationalize this new tool, but it certainly will help us to manage and contain COVID. And then the last and probably most significant development is obviously the COVID vaccination program. As you will have heard, it is led by the NHS, but very much supported by local authority and partners. And you will have heard there's a lot of attention at the moment around where the vaccination will happen. There are various models, so mass vaccination sites, then primary care sites. They are very, very important to the community. And then also what are called roving models, so not able to come to vaccination sites, that the vaccinators come to them. Very important also the discussions around priority groups. Ultimately, the idea is everybody gets vaccinated, but it is important to vaccinate those as first. The people to advise is the National Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation, and their suggestion still being amended is that health and care workers are high priority, care homes are the first priority, then health and care workers, and then very much age driven, because we know that age is by far the most important risk factor for severe COVID. As you will also have heard, there is lots of excitement because various vaccines have made it through phase 3, but none has yet come out of the regulatory process. So everybody's getting ready, but there are a lot of specifications that we are not yet know, because we haven't actually got the vaccine. If you move on, nearly done. I will not go through all the details, but I thought it's a nice summary slide for you as a reference as well. So this spells out in the various settings what tier 2 means. If all goes well in Parliament, then that is what we have to implement from tomorrow. If you move on. So the main message really is that if we're poring over all the different infection pattern, it is the household mixing that is the biggest driver, and therefore the restrictions that are linked to tier 2 alert level is still to try to minimize different households mixing, and that is in your own house, and that is also outside in pubs, restaurants, etc. Another important finding is that indoors is just a lot more conducive to passing on the infection. So if you want to socialize, do it outside. If you can't outside, open the window inside, because it is a respiratory infection. If you move us on. Just a little bit of a reminder, things have not changed, basic things have not changed, so hand washing, face coverings, and keeping socially isolated or keeping a social distance continue to be really important. If you move us on. And then just a plea at the end, this is my last slide. We are obviously really keen to work with you and with our communities in the fight against COVID. And so we've developed a network of COVID champions. These are people from the community that are volunteering to, first of all, listen to what community members tell them about COVID, and then come back and let us know. And we give them the latest messages about COVID that they then bring back into their communities as trusted peers. It works really well. I have to say a huge thank you. A number of you counsellors and partners are volunteering as community champions, and it is probably one of our most important measures in terms of containing COVID and protecting our most vulnerable. There are drop-in sessions, so there's a bit of information for you on that slide. Every week we are presenting the latest updates and main messages. And there's also a specific workshop in preparation for Christmas. There's also a newsletter for you to keep up to date. And we are always there if there are any queries or questions you have. Our public health inbox is looked at regularly. That's me done. Thank you.
So Dagmar, thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation, and obviously you're at the front line of this fight. So thank you for all you do and being with us this evening. Unfortunately, as I've indicated on previous meetings and again on the group chat this evening, because of the restrictions of us all being on Zoom, it is easier and better, if possible, for questions and comments to be made via the chat function. So I will just pause for a moment if anybody wants to ask Dagmar a question, but obviously a very thorough overview there, so it maybe there aren't questions, but I will just pause for 1 second, or almost literally 1 second, in fact. So there are some questions coming through, and just a reminder now that that anybody who's joining us by YouTube, you can email your questions in, and we will pick those up. So I've got two questions, Dagmar. You may be able to see them yourself, but what preparations are being made by the council to prepare sites and teams to be ready for mass vaccinations? And where might those vaccinations be available?
Unmute. The mass vaccination sites, there's still quite a bit of discussion, because as you can imagine, the specifications are quite tricky. For London, the one that is definitely agreed is the Nightingale site in the east. That obviously is quite a long track. For the Pfizer vaccine in southwest London, there are 2 NHS hospitals that will cater as so-called storage hubs, and will initially also be the sites for vaccination, because you will have heard in the press the Pfizer vaccine, although really effective, it needs to be stored very cold, -80 degrees, and cannot be transported. So the first lot of health and care workers have to travel, and it is St George's Hospital and Croydon Hospital at the moment. Obviously, if other vaccines come online, then there will be other sites in Merton as well. The most important sites, I think, will be the PCN, the primary care sites. And at the moment, it looks like, but please, there might still be changes. So in the west of the borough, the Nelson Health Centre, that is meant to be shared between 3 of the primary care groups. And then in the east, it's planned for Ravensbury Park practice. for the Wilson site and for the Mitcham family practice. So again, a good mix in terms of spread. So that gives you a little bit of flair on the sites.
Thank you. And more questions coming through. One question is that if residents of Merton go to the nearest drive-through test centre in Kingston, will those numbers be reported here or in Kingston? And I'll just do two at once. Another one, given Merton's moderate record on vaccination rates for both MMR and flu, are we planning to address any similar problems with the forthcoming COVID vaccination?
Yeah, so all very good question. So first of all, around the testing, yes, so the symptomatic testing, which is the gold standard test, you can get anywhere you can book, and if you book basically anywhere in the UK, it is counted as where you are a resident. What is also important, just so you are aware, terms you should find now two sites, one at Merton College and one in Mitcham. So all now bookable through the portal. So that is really changed, because you will remember when I spoke to you last, I think it was just after the summer, and there was quite a lot of constrained capacity in the testing system. With regards to vaccination, what's called vaccination hesitancy, or what we can just say poor uptake of vaccination, of other vaccinations in Merton, absolutely a fair point. So at the moment, you will be aware quite a big push from the NHS to have everybody in high-risk groups flu vaccinated, because we know that flu and the flu season is duty for the 50 plus who are free is running now. In fact, from today. So again, if any of you or anybody you know falls in that group, please promote. You can get it from your GP or pharmacist. What we are trying to do with regards to the uptake of the COVID vaccine is really working through our comms team and our community engagement team, with our GPs, with our community pharmacists, we have got the right engagement and can answer, I think, legitimate questions that people will have before they decide to have the vaccine. So a big joint up communication and engagement endeavour between us, local authorities, stakeholders, and obviously the NHS. And I think any help from you really appreciate. Were there any more? I can see a few. Any more?
So I don't think there are any more at the moment that you haven't addressed, Dagmar. Just to remind our viewers on YouTube that the email address is getinvolved@merton.gov.uk if you want to ask any questions now or on future items. But I do think that's it. So Dagmar, thank you so much for your time this evening. Thank you for joining us. So Dr. Dagmar Zuna, who's the Director of Public Health, as I said at the beginning, and very much at the forefront of this battle. So Dagmar, thank you. And I have a feeling we will be seeing you again, I'm afraid, at some point next year. But in the meantime, good night and thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
So we will now move on, again, shifting the agenda around a little bit, so apologies for that, but we'll now have a Love Wimbledon update from Helen Clark-Bell. Helen, I introduce you in the same way at each meeting, which is that not only are you a great champion of the town centre, you are also a champion of this forum. So as usual, thank you so much for being here, and over to you to give us your update, and just remind people again, I'm sorry that it's so restricted. I'm afraid we, along with so much of life, are restricted because of this virus. But please put comments or questions for Helen while she is presenting to us in the group chat, or once again, for those joining us by YouTube, get involved at merton.gov.uk. So Helen, you're very welcome, and over to you.
Thank you, James, and thank you for inviting me along here tonight. I'm also a local resident, so this is my natural home place as well. Chris, I don't know if you're able to make me a co-host so I can share some slides. If not, I can just carry on talking. I've come here to talk primarily about Christmas. That's lovely. Thank you, Chris. Let me just get that sorted out. Okay. Right. Hopefully everybody can see that sufficiently. It's very pink. Wake everybody up. So I am Helen Clark-Bell. I'm the Chief Executive of Love Wimbledon. Just for those in the room who might not understand who Love Wimbledon is, we are a not-for-profit organisation that's funded by businesses, managed by a board of directors made up of the local business community for the benefit and improvement of the town centre. We are also, most of us, local residents, often having lived here. Actually, I've got 2 members of staff who've lived here for all of their lives, so we are very embedded within the local community. We have just published our annual report, which I will put a link to on our chat, on the chat in just a moment, so everybody can have a look at that. This is how we report primarily to our businesses, but I think it's a fairly engaging read for anybody to understand the breadth of the work that we get up to, because some of it is very visible and other parts of it is not. So I've been asked to speak about Christmas here tonight. You hopefully will have received a copy of our Wimbledon guide, which has gone through local residents' letterboxes just recently, talking to you about Christmas activities in the town centre. But suffice to say that Christmas is certainly not cancelled in the town. It is very different this year, inevitably, but we have tried to do our best to bring that festive spirit into the town centre. Some of you may have already seen our Christmas tree, our stunning, spectacular Christmas tree actually this year, which is on the station forecourt. It is sponsored by a local business there, so we're very proud to be able to host that. And I think that's certainly putting a smile on many people's faces as they walk past the station and through the station in the morning and evening. We are continuing with our Christmas markets. So they have been restricted because we were in lockdown, but I'm very pleased to say that as of next weekend, we will be back to a full market stall layout, obviously socially distanced, to allow people to flow freely through between the stalls. And no market is the same. We change our stalls, we change our market providers, etc. through that. So do keep coming back, because there will be plenty of opportunities to purchase your Christmas gifts and support primarily those local entrepreneurs who are wanting to continue to trade through this time. Some of you may have also noticed that we have some 3-metre reindeer that have landed in the town centre. They are based on the stag, so they are 3 metres tall and very similar size. They are located in various places around the town centre, as I say, so we have created a trail. As you can see, they are sponsored by Centre Court Shopping Centre, so very proud to be working in partnership with them. We have also an augmented reality experience, which is due to launch any day now. So do watch out for this, because it's going to present a very different experience in the town centre, an outdoor festive experience that will hopefully again put a smile on your face, or even get you to chuckle just a little bit. So we're trying our best to do something to make Wimbledon a particularly great place to be at this end of the year. So that's a little bit about what the augmented reality experience might look like on your phone. So just to give you a teaser on that one. I'm very pleased to say that there are a number of new businesses that are coming into town at the moment. There are lots of coming into Centre Court, some of which are just Christmas related and pop-ups. But so for example, we've got Hayland and Whittle, who have always had a Christmas pop-up store. They've actually got a proper shop at the moment, and Sense Aroma. We have a new food market launching hopefully at the weekend. But some of these are not just for Christmas also. So Zero Waste Shop on the top left-hand side there has moved in from Merton Abbey Mills, and I'm sure that they would welcome a visit from yourselves. They have expanded their store and are really proud to have moved into Wimbledon. They are a young couple that run the business, just a couple of years now, but are expanding at a rate of knots. So we're very, very pleased to welcome them into Wimbledon. And I'm sure you can join me in acknowledging that that's a very smart layout shop. The idea is that you purchase everything without plastic. So you can take in your containers or borrow some containers from them, and you just pay for the weight of the produce that you're buying. We also have Sobeys Closet that's just opened up, a new clothing shop. We have Tequila Mockingbird that's coming in. They have cocktail bars, in Putney, Clapham, Brixton, and in Earlsfield. So they're going to be coming into the new Smash site, the old Smash site, as of hopefully tomorrow. They are advertising it as 2nd of December. So as of the Tier 2 regulations, they are able to open because they'll be serving pizza. And then in the bottom right-hand side, we have a new shop that's opened at the end of the Broadway called Sassley. They're doing some fabulous Christmas decorations and homewares. So again, that's an individual, independent-owned business that we are very proud to be working with and supporting in the town centre. So looking forward, there are some exciting things to look forward to. The new Wimbledon Theatre Works, which is obviously being led by Future Merton and funded by Merton Council, but we're really pleased to be working alongside them on that. Going to be providing an improved area outside New Wimbledon Theatre with very high quality paving and a greater pavement space. So it actually gives more breathing room for the theatre and the audience as and when they are able to open. There are seats and trees still to come. They will have to cease their construction over the Christmas, but they will hope to complete that in early February. So that's a very exciting piece of placemaking that they're doing there. And then Merton, we applied for a community infrastructure levy funding from Merton Council. I'm very pleased to be able to say that we are going to be activating the area between Blacks and Robert Dyas. These are the current design that we're working on with a local company called Firecracker Works, who also actually developed our reindeer for us. So they are a local company. We're supporting local as much as we possibly can, and they also employ local people as well. So it's all about local for us. And this area is going to give us some seating, some murals on the wall. It's going to raise environmental awareness. We're going to be providing sustainable kiosks for the market traders, which means no more generators, which improves air quality and also improves sound quality. There will be better lighting with the festoon lighting going over the top, so give it a sense of place. So we hope to complete that in the spring. So that's a good piece of placemaking that's coming our way from the Community Infrastructure Levy. I would urge you to stay in touch with us, particularly our website, which is updated on a daily basis, particularly whilst businesses are opening and closing. We are very comprehensively in touch with all of the businesses. So you'll see the top left-hand slide there is about open businesses, and then we've got the Reindeer Trail, the Christmas markets, indeed celebrating Small Business Saturday, and also giving you ideas about where you can walk through Wimbledon and look at our Wombles mural, and ideas of how you can support the community. So as I say, please do stay in touch. We do have a regular newsletter that goes out that you're very welcome to subscribe to. Our website is updated daily and our social media is very, very strong and engaging. So I would encourage you to try and shop local wherever you possibly can this year. Our businesses really need your support more than ever this year. So before you get onto your computers and do that click for that delivery, just think about whether you can possibly pop into the town centre or even your neighbourhood high street and see if you can purchase something more locally and support local. Thank you very much.
Helen, thank you. Thank you as always for your contribution. Can I just give everybody a quick update that we are trying to get hold of our Assembly member, Leonie Cooper, who did indicate that she would be running late, but she hasn't been able to join us yet. We are trying to track her down in the hope that she's able to join us in the next few minutes. And questions then for Helen, either via group chat, questions or comments, either via the group chat or a reminder again on YouTube, get involved at merton.gov.uk. So Helen, thank you very much. Just waiting to see if any questions or comments come through.
I have had one directly through to me, James, if you'd like me to take that.
Yes, please go ahead.
With regards to how you can support the community, Merton Chamber and Merton Giving have teamed up and are running a shoebox hamper scheme for Wimbledon Guild. So again, it's a great sign of partnership within the borough. There are details on our website on that icon that I posted over to you, or you can get in touch with Merton Chamber or indeed Wimbledon Guild. But there's plenty of opportunity to support local businesses and support your local community this year. And there's another one.
Thank you very much.
Just come in about the death of the high street. Yes, it's for the first 4 years of my life in the business improvement district world, I could have attended a workshop once a week on the death of the high street, and unfortunately it's coming back to surround us at the moment. We are fortunate in Wimbledon in as much as we don't have any Arcadia group. Obviously Debenhams would have been part of that conversation with regards to closures, but they've left us a couple of years ago now. I would say with regards to the death of the high street, I am really keen that we keep Wimbledon as the heart of our community. Now that doesn't have to be just about retail. I'm old enough to remember when we used to go to the town centre just to hang out, and we didn't have to have 2 shillings in our pockets to rub together to go and go on a major shopping spree. And I think it is about making sure that the town centre remains heart of the community, whether it is being able to have a place to go, meet up with friends, have some cultural experience, go for a walk through town and spot something different, as well as supporting your local businesses and your local community. In Wimbledon, we have about 38% of our retailers are actually independents and small businesses. So although they may not present themselves as such, and I would draw your attention to the health zone, that is the only health zone in the country. It is a one-off and it is run by one particular gentleman. So they present themselves as a very professional store, and you could be excused for thinking that they're part of a chain. But I would really encourage you to support every business in Wimbledon, because also they are employing local people. So death of the high street is not on my agenda, I have to say. Love Wimbledon will do all it can to make sure that the town centre survives and survives for everybody.
Thank you, Helen. Any other questions or comments? Chris, anything through the email?
No, nothing so far, James. No.
Thank you. Thank you. So Helen, thank you very much, as always. Thanks for being here with us, and thank you for what you've said, and in particular, and it was a really good question, and thank you for addressing it. The future of the high street is going to be really important in our community, as it is in many going forward. So thank you for your comments on that.
Not a problem at all. Please do stay in touch with us. We're here to help.
Great, thank you. So everybody, I'm very sorry that Leonie has not been able to join us as yet, and of course, because she hasn't been able to respond to our chase, we are uncertain as to when she would be able to join us. I will just say before we wind up that there is the ongoing consultation on the future of the town centre, and further work to be done on that following the recent council meeting. So I would urge everybody to get involved in that, to make representations to your councillors as to exactly what you want that town centre, our town centre, to look like in terms of the balance between retail and office and residential, and in particular how high you want the buildings to be and how dense you want them to be. So progress is being made, but there's plenty of time for you to continue to engage and let us as councillors know exactly what you want for your town centre. I've said already during the meeting that we are hampered, I'm afraid, by COVID, and I think this evening more than ever, because we have had two parties unable to join us, but more than ever we've had it highlighted how difficult it is to have these meetings on Zoom as opposed to being able to meet face to face. I see the next meeting is due to be right at the end of March, so I think there is a small chance that we may be able to meet together at that time, but if not, we certainly will be able to meet the time after. But the only remains for me this evening to thank Chris very much for the support he's given, and also to thank those who've presented this evening and those who've asked questions this evening. And I will say, as I did the last time we all met, please do stay safe, and hopefully not much longer to go. And between now and the next time we meet, I wish everybody a good Christmas and a good New Year, and look forward to meeting you all, maybe face to face, but if not here, at the end of March. But thank you very much, and good night.